If you ever hear a late-night traffic report for an exit that hasn't existed in 15 years, don't change the station. Don't laugh. Don't say your GPS knows better. Keep your hand on the wheel and your thumb off the power knob, because at exactly 2:12 a.m., a voice you don't recognize is going to tell you to stay put. If you ignore it, you'll never know how close you came to dying on a road that shouldn't be there. If you keep listening, you might see a place that only appears when you tune it in. I didn't believe any of this either until the night the old radio in my dashboard told me to take a detour to a rest stop that doesn't exist. That was the last simple night of my life. I don't drive at night because I like it. I drive because the day chews me up and spits me onto the shoulder. Nights are the only time the world shrinks enough to feel honest. 2 lanes, a string of cat's eye reflectors, and a rain-washed ribbon that accepts me without questions. US 26 after midnight is a place you pass through rather than a place you visit. The hills crouch back from the shoulder like they know something you don't, and your headlights paint a circle so small you forget you own a past or a future. My GPS hates those stretches. It stutters, lies, picks dirt tracks that don't exist. So I keep what my father taught me. AM for distance and trouble. The radio in my car is older than it should be. I took it out of his when they towed the wreck. It's dated and it wobbles with a faceplate full of hairline scratches and an orange needle that trembles like a moth over a lantern. 2 screws in the bezel don't match. Every time my thumb drifts across the dial, it feels like I'm trying to remember a phone number from childhood. He used to say, FM tells you what's happening. AM tells you what matters. He died on a straight road at noon. The irony is not lost on me, and it's the only reason I don't laugh at superstition. That night, the clouds were a lid turned down over the highway. Rain ticked like a metronome. Truckers drifted by as hulking silhouettes and left the air tasting like iron. I had the radio at a low murmur, ball games and farm reports and empty chatter all blended into a friendly hum, and I was almost at mile 12 when a voice rose clean out of the static like a diver breaking the surface. Good evening, motorists. Traveling eastbound US 26. Construction at Miles Bend Interchange will close 2 lanes overnight. Use temporary detour B via Service Road last services at Pioneer Rest. Open. Expect delays until 2:12. A little laugh escaped before I could catch it, just air more than humor. Miles Bend got torn out after the floods. 15 years. They built a cleaner interchange farther east and left the old one as a story you tell your cousin when he visits from out-of-state Pioneer Rest. The rest stop at that exchange was bulldozed so thoroughly the ground looked embarrassed. The new map didn't just forget it. It corrected for it. I mean to say, this report couldn't exist. Then I saw the sign, not the new one, the old one. The green reflective slab with Miles Bend Interchange, printed in a font you don't see anymore. For a breath, it sat right over the new one like a double exposure, glass bead reflectors glaring wetly in my headlights. I blinked and the modern sign asserted itself in a superior kind of way. All sharp angles and clean white typeface reflex took over. I reached out and nudged the dial a hair left. The old sign brightened, the new one dulled, and it felt like the world made a choice. Flagman on duty with lantern, the voice added, as if it were reading from a manual in a library nobody had dusted since 1979. Watch for workers in dark garments. Workers in dark garments. Were we suddenly talking in biblical terms? I should have kept laughing. I should have chalked it up to an old station rerunning archival tapes for retro charm. But I felt something under my ribs turn and look at me, and that was enough to keep my hand on the wheel, my thumb off the power knob long enough to see the wooden detour sign that wasn't there, and then was and then wasn't again until my finger brushed the dial and steadied it into being. The service road peeled away like a low tide, asphalt older than anything maintained by the Department of Transportation lane stripes, ghosted through newer paint like bones under skin. Every curve came with the illusion that the shoulder was a little too soft. Ahead, a glow that wasn't industrial and wasn't natural pressed up against the horizon. The light of open stores. The light of a place that expected company. If you've ever seen a building appear from nothing, you know how your brain tries to fold the moment into something reasonable. Maybe a tree moved and exposed it. Maybe you crested a hill just as a cloud slid off the moon. Pioneer Rest didn't allow those lies. One moment there wasn't a rest stop on the horizon. The next moment there was fully formed under a canopy of fluorescence that hummed like bees trapped under a mixing bowl. 2 gas pumps with round glass globes winked into my headlights. A diner with a chrome-edged counter and red vinyl booths sat behind big square windows tinted with condensation. The open sign flickered, a weak pink orange that made my mouth taste like a copper. Penny moths beat themselves against the tubes above the canopy in smudged little arcs. The parking row was wrong. That's what told me the truth before everything else. A 79 boat of a sedan with a vinyl roof and rust freckles sat nose out, rain polishing its hood into a mirror. Next to it, a mid-90s minivan with a bumper sticker, gone to a blank rectangle. 2 spaces down, a modern SUV with a cracked headlight and masking tape on a mirror. Fog clouded every windshield from the inside. It's a particular kind of fog, slow and thick, the kind left by breath in a closed space. Nobody sat inside those vehicles, but that fog didn't care what I believed. Construction delay extended, said a voice overhead in the patter of the rain. Thank you for your patience. Coffee is hot. I pulled under the canopy because the rest stop was real enough to make my shoulders loosen with the promise of shelter. The rain hedged its bets at the edge of the light. The old radio in my dash breathed static like a sleeping animal, and then the phone rang. There was a payphone mounted at the corner of the diner. It was the kind of booth that doesn't have walls, just a plastic hood that makes rain weep down in slow tongues. The receiver wore a coiled cord as thin as certain kinds of secrets, and the coin return was wedged open with a dime so old it had gone dull. The ring was old-fashioned too, thin and endless, like a wire pulled tight in a winter wind. I picked it up because that's what you do with ringing phones, isn't it? Even if the rest of your life is trying to stay normal. Highway Authority District 3, a voice said, formal but not unfriendly. State your route and mileage. I said the first truth I could hold in my mouth without it crumbling. Eastbound 26, mile 12. And then, because something in me wanted to break the spell instead of letting it set, year 2025. Silence. You can tell a lot about a place by the way it gives you silence. This silence had weight to it, like a quiet hallway in a courthouse where you've been asked to wait while the door closes. Please remain on premises until 2:12. The voice said, you will not be struck. You will not be seen. This rest stop, I said to the rain as much as to the receiver, Pioneer Rest was demolished. Pioneer Rest is available, the voice said, and I swear a tiny undertow of Compassion, regret, passed under the words, as needed. The line went bright with polite emptiness. When I set the receiver back in its cradle, the open sign in the diner window steadied, as if it had been waiting for that sound to complete a circuit. Back in the car, I rested my hand on the old radio without realizing it. The car had stopped being mine. It belonged to whatever this place was for as long as my thumb kept the needle in range. "Driver in teal sedan," the male traffic voice said from somewhere between stations. "Maintain position, incident ahead." It knew my car. That detail turned my mild unease into a cold clarity that went all the way down my back. I lifted my gaze to the windshield and flinched. For a second, my face was gone from the glass. In its place, another road lay over mine like a sheet of acetate. I could see the same stretch of US 26, but it wasn't this one. Hazard lights strobed in the rain. A semi had jackknifed that ugly thing they do when mass decides to overrule intention safety. Glass glittered in a curtain that refused to fall. Headlights washed over a reflective paint in an endless parade of coming and going, and somewhere far away, a woman I couldn't see yelled, "Hold the wheel, Lucia!" The sound reached me as if it had been thrown, and the wind had caught it and set it down at my feet. I pressed my thumb hard enough into the dial to make the orange needle quiver. I don't know why I thought I could hold it in place. Maybe because it felt like the sort of moment where small human gestures should count for something. "Evan?" said the same male voice, the one with the dated cadence. "Thank you for your patience." I hadn't told anyone my name. I hadn't told anyone anything that mattered. "Who are you?" I asked the air, because asking the radio felt like a confession. "We keep who we can keep," a woman said. She sounded like the operator on the phone, and also like someone's neighbor you trust to watch your kids for half an hour. "Please remain until 2:12. "What happens if I don't?" The question crawled out of my throat like a guilty thing. "The rest stop won't be available," the woman said. "The roads will be what they are." I stared at the open sign in the diner window. It did a tiny stutter like a heart that doesn't quite remember how to stay in rhythm. Through the glass, the counter and the coffee pots and the two stools nearest the corner were all so clean they felt accusatory. I had the sudden urge to pull the door and make it open just to prove I could. The handle didn't move. It didn't rattle against a lock. It sat cold in my palm like it had always been waiting for a species of person more interesting than me. I tried leaving. Of course I did. I put the car in gear and followed the curve of asphalt back toward the service road. And for 30 seconds, I believed in the old logic where doing equals accomplishing. The exit spat me out into dark. I turned left, then right, then later, I turned into the same parking row I'd just left. Pioneer Rest sat exactly where I'd pulled away from it. The open sign winked like we'd both practiced a trick. I tried again, the same. After the third loop, something in me gave up the pretense that I was the one doing the driving. I killed the radio in a petty act of rebellion, and the whole rest stop held its breath. The fluorescence dimmed. The moths near the tubes slowed down like someone had turned the air into syrup. The other road vanished from my windshield, as if someone had pulled a cloth over a mirror. The open sign burned steady for 3 seconds and then went to a dead calm that scared me more than the flicker. "Okay," I said to nobody and everybody at once, and I turned it back on before I had time to admire my bravery. "Thank you, driver," the radio said, and I had the sick feeling of being patted on the head by a machine that loved me at arm's length. "Remain on premises until 2:12. You will not be struck. You will not be seen." The parallel road in my glass didn't demand attention. It simply existed. In that overlay, people did what people do. In the minutes after a thing goes wrong, they tried to get out of the way. They tried to help. They tried to make their decisions look brave when really they were only immediate. I heard my name again. It didn't belong to my world. It belonged to a mother who thought her child was about to die and called a stranger's name because a stranger's car had become a landmark. At 2:11, a weight passed across the rest stop, like a cloud that wasn't in the sky. Somewhere on the scanner side, a trooper said something about securing the scene in that tone people use when they want the room to behave well enough that they can go home. The PA made its ritual promise about coffee that I didn't believe. The coin return in the payphone coughed up a nickel older than me, a dime that predated my father, and a quarter that had been through 4 governors. And I put them back on the little shelf because even I have a line, and stealing from a place that rescues you is beyond it. At 2:12, the pressure let go. The windshield became a window again. The sky didn't brighten, but the idea of a dawn at least entertained the conversation. I didn't feel safe. Exactly, I felt as if a decision had been made in a room I wasn't invited to, and the outcome for now favored my continued existence. I tried the diner door one more time out of habit. It stayed what it was. The handle left my palm smelling faintly of novelty. In the glass, my face towed the line between real and tired. For a second, just one, I thought I saw my father behind the counter, flipping the little glass mugs upright after washing, the way he used to at the VFW breakfasts. Then the reflection resolved into nothing I could bear to name. And I went back to the car because sitting in a self-contained box felt like a kindness. Another set of headlights cut up the fog, and I experienced something like camaraderie and dread mixed evenly. The new car rolled into the same pattern I had. It passed the pumps like a nervous horse. It ghosted toward the phone because there are only so many choices in a stage set like this. The radio needle flicked. When the traffic report came through, I nearly tore my thumbnail on the dial. I heard my own voice. "Eastbound motorist near mile 12, it said in my rhythm, but somebody else's confidence. Construction at Miles Bend, Detour B via Service Road. Last services at Pioneer Rest, open." I didn't open my mouth. I didn't need to. The words left me without using my tongue. It felt like putting your hand on an electric fence that someone swears is off and realizing they lied. The voltage wasn't deadly. It was personal. "Driver, remain until 2:12. My voice told the new headlights. "You will not be struck. You will not be seen." My chest tightened the way it does when a story clicks into place at a level below language. Of course, this is how it works. Of course, the voices are us, people saved at the shoulder between roads, paying it forward without being asked to sign anything except their continued presence. The new car did what I had done. The figure inside didn't get out. The figure inside listened. The rest stop watched us both without any visible eyes. The open sign steadied again, which somehow frightened me more than the flicker. Imperfection feels human. The rest stop steadiness felt like an emotion I didn't have the range for. Maybe you're waiting for me to tell you how long I stayed. Maybe you're the practical type whose hand is already up. 2 hours? A night? 3? I don't know. Time here folds. The sky keeps the color of 3 a.m. without permission. The coins in the payphone are an index of multiple elections. The cars in the row are a museum of poor choices and good luck. I learned the rules eventually. I don't write them down because writing them down feels like daring the place to change them. But I can tell you the simple ones that might save you. Keep the radio on. If you kill the signal, the place holding you will hold its breath, and you will feel what it is to be alone on a road with the wrong future. Don't honk. Sound carries strangely, and the wrong thing might answer in a voice you'll remember when you're supposed to be asleep. Don't open the diner door. It's not for you. It's not for anybody. If you must touch it, be polite. Don't look into the parked cars for too long. If you see someone, you might be seeing yourself, but in another costume most important. When the voice tells you to remain until 2:12, remain until 2:12. If you don't have a clock, listen to the hiss. You'll hear a regularity to it, a steadying like the world counting backwards inside a throat. After a while, however long that means, something in me stopped straining against the rules and started acting like I belonged. I took my father's radio knob between my fingers and remembered his hand covering mine when I was 10, and we sat in a pickup older than both of us put together, the road trying to slide out from underneath us while rain practiced piano on the windshield. The same orange needle, the same frequencies, a new purpose. When it was my turn to speak, when the next set of headlights came in, bleeding white into the fog, I fed the air the words that had been fed to me. Miles Bend, Detour B, Remain. And I didn't hate myself for the way I sounded. I sounded like a man who had decided that his voice mattered more as a tool than as a personality. Later, after the third or fourth arrival, I realized the cars in the row weren't meant to be counted. They were meant to be noticed as a group, like a choir. You don't count a choir to measure its usefulness. You listen to whether it changes something in the room. I know how this reads. I know it sounds like a bad dream I'm dressing up with details to make you believe I'm not asking you to make room for a rest stop that only shows up when your radio hits the right frequency. I'm asking you to make room for a moment that saves your life when there wasn't a reason for you to be saved. If you ever run US 26 eastbound near mile 12 and you hear the words Miles Bend on a night so quiet the rain counts as company, don't argue. Take the detour. You will see a wooden arrow that has no business standing upright in that weather. You will follow a service road that remembers different paint. You will think you're smarter than fear. Then you will see a rest stop come into existence like someone slid it into your world from a shelf park. Keep the radio on. Sit on your hands if you have to. When the voice says, you will not be struck, you will not be seen, believe it like you believe a seatbelt. There won't be angels, there won't be devils. There will be a minute where you don't die. When the place exhales at 2:12, go. Don't look for me, don't look for anyone. Your car will move like your car again. Your headlights will feel like your own. The rain will go back to serving gravity instead of this other thing. The road will not remember you. Don't force it. And if you make it home, do something small for me. Keep an AM radio in your car. Teach someone too young to care how to turn the dial with patience. Tell them distance and trouble can be friends if you don't disrespect them. Does Pioneer Rest trap you? No, not unless you want to be trapped. It holds you the way a surgeon holds your shoulder in the hallway, saying wait before you stand up. Not yet. Breathe. It's not perfect. It's not good. In the moral sense, it's pragmatic. It's there as needed. If I sound like a shill for a haunted gas station, so be it. Some of us have to repay what we were given or our hands go cold. Sometimes I think I see my father in the diner. Sometimes I think I hear him on the edge of the band, saying my name into the hiss, like practice. Maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe everyone who stays long enough hears the person they most want to breathe again. Either way, I keep my hand near the dial for reasons that have nothing to do with music. If you've listened this far, if you've carried me this deep into your night, then hear the last thing clearly. You are not supposed to be the main character on a highway. You are supposed to be a respectful guest. The road cares nothing for your errands and your grief, and that indifference is a gift. When indifference gets interrupted by a jackknifed rig by a trucker taking a second too long with his eyes closed, don't be proud. Accept help from voices. Eastbound US 26, construction at Miles Bend Interchange. Use Detour B via Service Road. Last services at Pioneer Rest. Open remain on premises until 2:12. You will not be struck. You will not be seen. You don't have to believe me now. You will when the dial catches, when the old sign overlays the new, when the rain stops sounding like rain and starts sounding like a clock. If this story finds you before the road does, that's luck disguised as caution. Hold on to it. Before you go, help keep this signal alive. If this story got under your skin, hit like it helps more people find it when the algorithm's headlights pass by. Tell me in the comments, would you take the detour or trust your GPS? Have you ever heard a station report on a place that shouldn't exist? Subscribe if you want more true or true enough encounters from American Backroads. The next broadcast drops at 2:12. Don't miss it. Share this with someone who drives nights. You might be the reason they keep their radio on when it matters.